Dr. Yuna pressed her face against the cold metal window of the research station. The strange purple moon below them glowed with crystal formations that seemed to pulse with their own light. She had been studying these crystals for 3 months now, and they still amazed her every day. "The energy readings are off the charts again," said Chithkan, the insect-like scientist from the Vrelak homeworld. His forearms moved quickly across the control panels while his compound eyes reflected the data streams. Velthara floated near the ceiling, her translucent body shimmering like water. The Solari engineer was checking the station's power systems with her natural ability to sense electromagnetic fields. "The crystals are beautiful, but they make our equipment act strange," she said in her musical voice. Yuna smiled at her alien colleagues. Working with different species was one of the best parts of her job. The Galactic Council brought together beings from across the galaxy to share knowledge and explore the universe together. It was peaceful work, the kind that made her believe in a better future. The research station Harmony's Edge was small but comfortable. It orbited the moon Keth 7 in a remote system far from any major trade routes. That was why they chose this place. No distractions, no politics, just pure science. "Dr. Yuna," called Velthara from the communications room. "I'm getting some strange signals on the long-range sensors." Yuna walked over to look at the displays. Several red dots were moving toward their position, coming from the edge of the star system. "Could be a supply ship," she said, but something felt wrong. Supply ships always sent identification signals first. The dots grew larger on the screen. Chithkan's antennae twitched with worry. "Those are not supply ships," he clicked in his insect language. "Those are warships." Before anyone could respond, the station's emergency alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. Velthara's body glowed brighter as fear made her natural luminescence increase. "This is War Marshal Sekthor of the Krex Dominion," came a harsh voice over the communication system.
"Surrender immediately."
"Prepare to be boarded." Yuna's blood turned cold. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Krex Dominion. They were a brutal empire of reptilian warriors who conquered worlds and enslaved entire species. They turned peaceful beings into workers in their mines and factories. The Galactic Council had been at war with them for decades. "But this is a research station," Yuna said into the communicator. "We're scientists, not soldiers. We have no weapons." Sekthor's laugh was like breaking glass. "Even better. Scientists bring good prices in the slave markets. Your knowledge will serve the Dominion." The station shook as the Krex ships came alongside. Yuna could hear the terrible sound of metal being cut as they attached boarding tubes to the hull. Her hands trembled as she reached for the emergency communication panel. "Send a distress signal," she told Chithkan. "Send it to everyone. The Galactic Council, nearby systems, anyone who might help." Chithkan's 4 hands flew over the controls. "The Krex are jamming most frequencies, but I can get one signal out on an old emergency channel." The station shook again, harder this time. They could hear Krex soldiers moving through the corridors, their heavy boots echoing through the metal halls. Other scientists were screaming as they were captured. "Hurry," whispered Velthara, her form flickering with terror. Yuna grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. She had to make this count. "One message, one chance to call for help before the Krex found them. This is Dr. Yuna of the Galactic Council Research Station Harmony's Edge," she said as clearly as she could. "We are under attack by Krex forces at coordinates 77 Alpha in the Keth system. They are taking prisoners for the slave trade. We have no weapons, no defenses. Please, someone help us. Anyone who receives this message, please help us." The door to their section exploded inward. 3 massive Krex soldiers stood in the smoking doorway, their scales dark green and covered in battle scars. They held energy weapons that hummed with deadly power. Their yellow eyes looked at the 3 scientists like they were looking at valuable cargo. "Stop what you're doing," growled the lead soldier. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. Chithkan tried to run, but one of the Krex fired a stunning beam that dropped the insect scientist to the floor. Velthara tried to phase through the wall, but another beam hit her and she became solid again, falling unconscious. Yuna stood frozen as the lead Krex approached her. She could smell his breath. It was like rotting meat and sulfur. His clawed hand reached for the communication panel and crushed it to pieces. "Too late for messages, little scientist," he said. "You belong to the Dominion now." Far away in the depths of space, Yuna's message traveled through the void at the speed of light. It bounced off communication satellites and relay stations, spreading outward through the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Most species who received it deleted the message. They were too afraid of the Kreks to help, or too far away to matter. Some felt sorry for the captured scientists but did nothing. The galaxy was full of tragedies and most beings learned to look the other way. But the message kept traveling, reaching farther and farther from its source. Eventually, it reached a small blue planet in a quiet spiral arm of the galaxy. The planet was called Earth, and it was home to a young species that had only recently learned to travel between stars. Admiral Minho sat in the command center of Luna Base, Earth's main military installation on the moon. He was reading reports about shipping routes when his aide, Captain Jiwan, brought him the distress signal. "Sir, we picked up this transmission from the Keth system," Jiwan said, playing Yuna's desperate message. Minho listened to the recording 3 times. His face was hard and serious, carved by years of military service. When the message ended, he was quiet for a long moment. "Sir," Jiwan said carefully, "the Galactic Council has no formal alliance with Earth. We're not required to respond to their distress calls." Minho looked at the star charts showing the distant location where the attack had happened. It was far from Earth, in a dangerous part of space controlled by hostile aliens. Any rescue mission would be risky and expensive. "No," Minho said quietly. "We're not required to help them." He stood up and walked to the large window that looked out at the Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly in space, peaceful and beautiful. Minho thought about all the humans down there living their lives in safety because people like him stood watch. "But we're human," he continued, "and humans don't abandon people who cry out for help. Get me Colonel Hyun. Tell him to prepare the Titan Corps for immediate deployment." Jiwan looked surprised. "Sir, the Titan Corps? For a rescue mission?" Minho turned back to his aide and his eyes were filled with cold determination. "Someone asked for help, Captain, and Earth is going to answer." Colonel Hyun stood at attention in Admiral Minho's office, his uniform crisp and his eyes alert. Behind him were 4 of Earth's finest soldiers, each one chosen for this dangerous mission. "The situation is simple," Admiral Minho said, pointing at the holographic star map floating above his desk. "Unknown number of scientists captured by Krek's forces in the Keth system. No backup coming from anyone else. It's just us." Hyun studied the map. The Keth system was deep in hostile territory, surrounded by Krek's military bases and patrol routes. "What do we know about Krek's capabilities, sir?" "Brutal but predictable," Minho replied. "They rely on heavy weapons and thick armor. They think bigger is always better. They've been conquering weaker species for so long they've forgotten what real fighting looks like." Sergeant Major Doyen stepped forward. He was a big man with scarred hands from years of working with explosives. "What's our mission parameters, sir? Rescue only, or are we making a statement?" Admiral Minho's smile was cold. "Both. Bring our people home and make sure the Kreks remember what happens when they attack innocent scientists." Lieutenant Nari checked her equipment list on her tablet. She was small and quiet, but Hyun knew she could hit a target from 3 kilometers away in a sandstorm. "How many ships are we taking, Colonel?" "Just 1, Hyun said. The Retribution. Fast, quiet, and armed with our newest weapons. We go in hard and fast before they know what hit them." Corporal Wanho looked worried. He was the team medic, trained to save lives rather than take them. "Sir, what condition are the prisoners likely to be in?" "The Kreks are known for harsh treatment. Bad condition," Admiral Minho said honestly. "That's why speed matters. Every hour we delay is another hour they suffer." Private Soman was the youngest member of the team, barely 22 years old, but she was also the best computer specialist Earth had ever produced. "Admiral, sir, what about Krek's security systems?" "Their encryption?" Minho handed her a datapad. "Everything we know is in there. But honestly, most species consider Krek's technology primitive. They rely on brute force instead of clever solutions." The team spent the next 4 hours preparing for launch. The Retribution was Earth's newest stealth ship, built with technology that most alien species could only dream about. Its hull was made from smart materials that could bend light around them, making the ship nearly invisible. Its engines ran silent, leaving no heat signature for enemy sensors to detect. Yun watched his team load their equipment. Each soldier carried weapons that looked simple but contained centuries of human engineering. Their armor was lightweight but stronger than anything the Kreks had ever seen. More importantly, each soldier had been trained in the uniquely human style of warfare, fast, precise, and utterly ruthless when defending the innocent. "Colonel," said Captain Jiwan, approaching with a final briefing tablet. Latest intelligence shows the Krek slave ship Chains of Sekthor left the Keth system 6 hours ago. It's heading for the slave markets at Proxima Centauri. Hyun nodded. Good. That means they'll be traveling through the void reaches, empty space with no backup nearby. Meanwhile, millions of kilometers away, Dr. Yuna lay on the cold metal floor of a Krek's prison cell. Her body ached from the stunning weapons, and her mind was cloudy from the drugs they had used to keep the prisoners quiet. The cell was barely 2 meters square, with walls that dripped with condensation. 20 other prisoners were crammed into the same space. Scientists, diplomats, and civilians from a dozen different species. All of them were trapped in the nightmare of Krek's captivity. Chithkan was unconscious in the corner, his insect body badly damaged by the capture. Felthara flickered weakly, her natural light dim with pain and fear. The Solari engineer was trying to stay solid, but stress was making her lose control of her form. How long have we been here? Whispered Yuna to a small furry creature from the Fellini homeworld. 2 days, the creature replied sadly. They only give us water once a day, and the food is terrible. Through the walls, they could hear Krek's guards laughing and talking in their harsh language. The reptilian soldiers seemed to enjoy the suffering of their prisoners. Sometimes they would open cell doors just to frighten the captives, or spray cold water on them for entertainment. War Marshal Sekthor walked through the prison section, inspecting his valuable cargo. He was 3 meters tall, covered in dark scales, and his mouth was full of sharp teeth. Behind him walked Captain Vorth, his second in command. The markets will pay well for this group, Sekthor said, looking at the crowded cells. Especially the scientists. Their knowledge will be useful in the mines. What about the human distress signal that was sent? Asked Vorth. Should we be concerned? Sekthor laughed, a sound like breaking bones. Humans? They are a young species, barely out of their home system. They would never dare challenge the Krek's dominion. And even if they tried, what could they do? We are warriors. They are nothing. Back on the Retribution, the human strike team was halfway to their target. The ship's quantum drives pushed them through folded space at incredible speeds, covering distances that would take other ships weeks to travel. Hyun stood in the ship's war room, studying everything they knew about Krek's tactics and weaknesses. The aliens were strong and tough, but they were also predictable. They always used the same battle formations, the same weapons, the same strategies that had worked for centuries. They've never fought humans before, Hyun said to his team. They don't know what we're capable of. Doyen was cleaning his weapons with practiced efficiency. Good. Let's keep it that way until it's too late for them to learn. Nari was studying sensor data from the target area. 3 escort ships with the prison transport. Standard Krek's destroyers, probably 50 crew each. They'll have particle cannons and plasma torpedoes. Old technology, said Salmon from her computer station. Their targeting systems are at least a century behind ours. I can probably hack their sensors before they even know we're there. Wanho was preparing medical supplies for the rescued prisoners. Colonel, based on Krek's prisoner treatment, we should expect severe dehydration, possible broken bones, and definitely psychological trauma. Hyun nodded grimly. Every piece of information made him more determined to make the Kreks pay for what they had done. Humans might be new to galactic politics, but they understood justice, and they understood that some things were worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Approaching target zone, announced the ship's AI. Enemy vessels detected on long-range sensors. Hyun moved to the command deck and looked at the tactical display. 4 red dots showed the location of the Krek ships, moving slowly through the empty space between star systems. They had no idea that death was approaching them at light speed. Remember, Hyun told his team, we're not just here to rescue prisoners. We're here to send a message. When this is over, every slaver in the galaxy should know what happens when you hurt innocent people and Earth finds out about it. The Retribution dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of sensor range. Its stealth systems activated, bending light and dampening energy signatures until the ship was almost invisible against the starfield. Hyun watched the Krek ships on his screen, moving in their predictable formation. They thought they were safe out here in the empty void. They thought no one would come for a handful of captured scientists. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Retribution hung in space like a ghost, invisible to the Krek sensors. Colonel Hyun stood at the command station, watching the enemy ships move in their slow, predictable pattern. The Krex had no idea that death was watching them from the darkness. "Target analysis complete," reported Lieutenant Nari from the weapon station. 3 destroyer-class escorts in standard defensive formation around the prison transport. They're following textbook Krex tactics. Shields forward, weapons charged, but no active scanning. Private Soman looked up from her computer terminal, her fingers still dancing across the holographic keyboard. "Colonel, their communication systems are completely open. No encryption, no security protocols. It's like they want me to hack them." Sergeant Major Doyun finished setting up his mine deployment system. "Ghost mines are ready, sir. I can place them right in their flight path without them knowing." Corporal Wanho checked his medical scanners. "I'm detecting approximately 50 life signs on the prison ship. Most appear to be in distress. We need to move fast." Yun studied the tactical display one more time. The Krex formation was perfect for their style of warfare, intimidating and powerful looking. But it had weaknesses that human military doctrine could exploit easily. "Soman, start hacking their sensors now. I want them blind when we attack. Doyen, deploy mines at these coordinates." He pointed to spots on the hologram. "Nari, prepare rail cannon strikes on the escort ships. We're going to hit them all at once." The attack began in silence. Soman's computer virus spread through the Krex communication network like poison, slowly degrading their sensor systems. Doyen's mines appeared in space around the enemy ships, invisible and waiting. Nari's targeting computers locked onto the weak points in Krex armor plating. On the bridge of the prison ship Chains of Sekthor, War Marshal Sekthor was reviewing the cargo manifest. Each prisoner had a price listed next to their name and species. The humans had been quite profitable. Their distress signal had told him exactly where to find the most valuable scientists. "Sir," called his sensor operator, "I'm getting some strange readings from our scanning array." Sekthor looked at the displays with annoyance. "What kind of readings?" "System errors, sir. Random data, ghost signals. The equipment seems to be malfunctioning." "Typical," Sekthor growled. "Fix it." But before the sensor operator could respond, space around the Krex formation suddenly filled with light and destruction. Doyen's ghost mines exploded simultaneously, their quantum charges ripping through the shields of 2 escort destroyers. At the same moment, the Retribution appeared out of nowhere, its stealth systems dropping as it opened fire. Nari's rail cannon shots moved at a significant fraction of light speed. The tungsten projectiles hit the 3rd destroyer before its crew even knew they were under attack. The alien ship simply came apart, its armor no match for human kinetic weapons. "What's happening?" Sekthor roared as his ship shook from nearby explosions. Where did they come from? His communication officer's hands shook as he tried to work his damaged console. "Unknown vessel, sir. It appeared from nowhere and destroyed our escorts in seconds. Impossible. No ship can hide from Krex sensors," but the evidence was right in front of him. 3 of his ships were burning wrecks, and a sleek human vessel was moving toward his prison transport with deadly purpose. "This is Colonel Hyun of the Earth Defense Force," came a calm voice over the communication system. "You are holding innocent prisoners. Release them immediately." Sekthor's laugh was full of rage and disbelief. "Earth, the primitive world? You dare threaten the Krex Dominion?" "This is your only warning," Hyun replied. "Release the prisoners now." "Never! They are property of the Dominion. You have made a terrible mistake, human. We will crush your tiny ship and add you to our cargo." Sekthor turned to his weapons officer. "Fire everything." "Destroy them!" The prison ship's plasma cannons opened fire, sending streams of superheated energy toward the Retribution. But the human ship moved like a dancer, its engines pushing it through impossible maneuvers. Every shot missed. "Their ship is too fast," reported the weapons officer. "Our targeting computers can't lock on." "Then fire manually." Sekthor screamed, but it was too late. The Retribution had moved into close range, and its cutting beams were already slicing through the prison ship's hull. Hyun wasn't trying to destroy the vessel. He needed the prisoners alive. Instead, he was disabling it piece by piece. The Krex ship's engines exploded in controlled bursts. Its weapons systems were cut apart by precise laser fire. Within minutes, the massive prison transport was floating helpless in space. "Boarding pods away," Hyun announced to his team. "Remember, prisoners first, questions later." The human boarding pods attached to the Krex hull like metal parasites. Cutting tools carved through the armor plating, and the Titan core moved into the enemy ship like a force of nature. Doyen led the way through the corridors, his heavy combat suit absorbing Krex plasma fire like rain. His explosive charges cleared entire sections of the ship, stunning the reptilian soldiers without killing them. Nari moved through the ship's upper levels like a ghost, her sniper rifle picking off Krek's guards before they could sound alarms. Her enhanced targeting system made every shot count. Wanho and Soman headed straight for the prison sections. The medic's scanners led him to the cells where the captives were being held, while Soman's computer skills unlocked every door and security system in their path. Hyun moved toward the ship's command center, where he knew Sekthor would be waiting. The Krek's war marshal was a symbol of everything the Dominion represented: cruelty, oppression, and the belief that might made right. It was time to show him how wrong he was. In her cell, Dr. Yuna heard the sounds of battle echoing through the ship. Explosions, weapons fire, and shouting in languages she didn't recognize. But mixed in with the chaos, she heard something else: human voices speaking English with calm professionalism. Medical team to Section 7. We have injured prisoners. Security sweep complete. All hostile forces neutralized. Ma'am, are you Dr. Yuna? We're here to take you home. Yuna looked up to see a human soldier in advanced combat armor standing outside her cell. His faceplate was transparent, showing kind eyes and a reassuring smile. I'm Corporal Wanho, Earth Defense Force, he said as he opened the cell door. We got your message. Sorry it took us so long to get here. Tears ran down Yuna's face as she realized what was happening. Humans had come. The species she had called to for help had actually answered. They had traveled across the galaxy and fought a battle just to save people they had never met. But we're strangers to you, she whispered. Why would you risk this? Wano helped her to her feet and began checking her injuries with his medical scanner. Because you asked for help, he said simply. And humans don't ignore people who need help. Throughout the ship, the rescue continued. Human soldiers moved efficiently through every section, freeing prisoners and providing medical care. They worked with the precision of a military unit but with the compassion of healers. The battle was over. The Krek's Dominion had learned what happened when they threatened innocent people, and Earth found out about it. But this was only the beginning. Colonel Hyun moved through the corridors of the Krek's prison ship with deadly purpose. His combat armor's sensors showed him the layout of the vessel, marking enemy positions and the location of the command center. Behind him, the sounds of battle were fading as his team secured the ship section by section. Krek's soldiers tried to stop him, but their plasma weapons were useless against human military technology. Hyun's armor absorbed the energy blasts and converted them into power for his own systems. Each shot they fired only made him stronger. He found 3 Krek's guards at a corridor junction, their massive forms blocking the path to the command center. They raised their weapons when they saw him, but Hyun was already moving. His enhanced reflexes, boosted by combat drugs and training, made him faster than any biological being had a right to be. The first guard's plasma rifle was cut in half before he could fire. The second managed to get off one shot before Hyun's molecular blade removed his weapon arm. The third tried to run but found himself facing Private Somin, who had circled around behind them. Stand down, Somin said calmly, her rifle aimed at the fleeing Kreks. The ship is secure. Surrender, and you won't be harmed. The remaining guards looked at each other, then at the humans who had appeared from nowhere and destroyed their supposedly invincible ship. Slowly, they dropped their weapons and raised their hands. In the prison sections, Corporal Wanho was working frantically to save lives. The conditions were worse than anything in the intelligence reports. Prisoners from dozens of species were crammed into spaces meant for half their number. Many were unconscious from dehydration and malnutrition. Medical supplies incoming, announced Nari over the communication system. I've cleared a path to the ship's medical bay. Wanho carefully lifted Dr. Yuna and helped her walk toward the better-equipped medical facility. Around them, other human soldiers were doing the same for prisoners who could barely stand. How many of you came? Yuna asked as they walked. 5, Wanho replied, checking his scanner to monitor her vital signs. Yuna stopped walking and stared at him. 5? Just 5 humans did all this? We're pretty good at our job, Wanho said with a modest smile. Plus, we had motivation. Nobody hurt scientists on our watch. In the ship's medical bay, Wanho found equipment that made him angry. The Kreks had medical technology that could heal their prisoners quickly, but they chose not to use it. They wanted their captives weak and broken. Soman, he called over the radio, can you activate the medical systems? The Kreks have been keeping the prisoners sick on purpose. Already on it, came the reply. Their computer security is so bad I could hack it with a calculator. Medical bay coming online now. Advanced healing beds activated throughout the facility. Automated systems began diagnosing and treating the rescued prisoners. Wanho watched with satisfaction as their vital signs improved rapidly. Chithkan, the insect scientist, opened his compound eyes and looked around in confusion. Are we free? You're safe, Wanho assured him. Earth Defense Force has secured the ship. Meanwhile, Hyun had reached the command center. The massive doors were sealed with Krek's military locks, but Soman's hacking had already given him the access codes. The doors slid open to reveal War Marshal Sekthor standing alone in the center of the bridge. The Krek's commander was even more impressive in person. He stood 3 meters tall, his dark scales scarred from hundreds of battles. His yellow eyes burned with rage and hatred. In his clawed hands he held a ceremonial bone sword passed down through generations of Krek's warriors. So, Sekthor growled, his voice like grinding stone, the humans finally show themselves. I expected you to be larger. Hyun walked calmly into the command center, his molecular blade still sheathed at his side. Size isn't everything. I thought the Kreks would have learned that by now. You think your technology makes you superior? Sekthor raised his ancient weapon. I have killed 1,000 enemies with this blade. Their blood has made it strong. I'm sure it has, Hyun replied, drawing his own weapon. The molecular blade hummed to life, its edge glowing with contained energy. But you've never fought a human before. Sekthor charged with surprising speed for such a large creature. His bone sword whistled through the air toward Hyun's head, moving fast enough to decapitate a normal being. But Hyun wasn't normal. He was the product of Earth's most advanced military training, enhanced with technology that pushed human reflexes to superhuman levels. He ducked under the massive swing and countered with precision that the Kreks couldn't match. The molecular blade met the bone sword, and there was no contest. The ancient weapon, strong enough to cut through most armor, simply disintegrated at the molecular level. Sekthor stared in shock at the handle in his hands. Impossible, he whispered. Your turn to learn something new, Hyun said quietly. The fight lasted exactly 3 seconds. Sekthor's claws scraped uselessly against Hyun's armor, while the human's blade found the gap between the Kreks' natural scales. One precise thrust and the War Marshal fell to the deck of his own ship. Hyun stood over the fallen Kreks commander and activated his communication system. This is Colonel Hyun to all Kreks forces. Your War Marshal is dead. Your ship is captured. Your prisoners are free. This is what happens when you prey on the innocent. Throughout the ship, surviving Kreks soldiers received the message. Some tried to continue fighting, but they were quickly overwhelmed by human technology and tactics. Others simply surrendered, unable to believe that their mighty War Marshal had fallen to a single human warrior. Sergeant Major Doyen's voice came over the radio. Colonel, we've secured the engine room and weapons systems. The ship is completely under our control. Excellent work, Hyun replied. Status on the prisoners? All 63 accounted for, reported Wanho. 12 are in serious condition but stable. The rest will recover fully with proper medical care. How soon can we move them to the Retribution? Transfer is already underway, sir. Another hour and we'll have everyone safely aboard our ship. Hyun looked around the Kreks command center, taking in the displays that showed the ship's cargo manifest. Each prisoner had been listed with a market value, as if they were objects to be bought and sold. The casual cruelty of it made his jaw clench with anger. Summon, he called. Download everything from their computer systems. I want complete records of their slave trading operations. Routes, contacts, market locations, everything. Already working on it, Colonel. Their database has information on slave markets throughout this sector. Thousands of prisoners are being held in Kreks facilities. Hyun nodded grimly. This rescue was just the beginning. Earth had found its place in the galaxy, as protectors of those who couldn't protect themselves. Dr. Yuna was sitting up in a medical bed when Hyun came to check on the prisoners. She looked much better after treatment, though her eyes still showed the trauma of captivity. Colonel Hyun, she said as he approached, I wanted to thank you, all of you. You saved our lives. Just doing our job, Hyun replied. How are you feeling? Better. Much better. She paused, studying his face. Can I ask you something? Why did Earth respond to our signal? You owe us nothing. Hyun was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. Dr. Yuna, someone called for help and we heard them. That's all the reason we needed. She shook her head in amazement. Most species would have ignored the message. Too dangerous, too far away, not their responsibility. Then most species don't understand what responsibility really means, Hyun said simply. As the last of the prisoners were transferred to the Retribution, Hyun took one final look at the captured Krex ship. It would be left here as a warning, proof that the Krex Dominion was not as invincible as they claimed. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth had arrived, and humanity was not interested in being neutral when innocents were suffering. The word would spread quickly through the criminal networks and slave markets. A new player had entered the galactic stage, and they fought with a combination of advanced technology and moral conviction that no one had seen before. War Marshal Sekthor had been wrong about one thing: size didn't matter at all. What mattered was the willingness to act when action was needed, no matter the cost. The Retribution moved silently through space toward the nearest Galactic Council station. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Yuna sat with other rescued prisoners, watching human medics work with quiet efficiency. The difference between her captors and her rescuers was like night and day. Corporal Wanho finished checking Velthara's condition. The Solari engineer was glowing with her natural light again, a sign that her health was returning. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Much better," Velthara replied, her voice like musical chimes. "Your medical technology is remarkable. I've never seen healing systems this advanced." Chithkin flexed his forearms experimentally. The damage from the capture was completely healed. "These humans are unlike any species I've studied," he clicked in his insect language. "Their medicine shows they value life, but their weapons show they can take it efficiently." Dr. Yuna had been thinking the same thing. During the rescue, she had watched human soldiers who could destroy Krex warriors in seconds, then turn around and gently care for injured prisoners. It was a combination she had never seen before. "Colonel Hyun," she called as the human officer passed through the medical bay. "May I speak with you?" Hyun stopped and approached her bed. "Of course. How are you feeling?" "Better every hour. But I have questions." Yuna paused, trying to find the right words. "Your people traveled across the galaxy to save strangers. You fought the Krex Dominion with no hope of profit or political gain. Why?" Hyun considered her question carefully. He had been asked the same thing by Admiral Minho before the mission launched. The answer seemed obvious to him, but he realized that other species might not understand human nature. "Because you asked for help," he said simply. "When someone calls out in distress, humans respond. It's who we are." "But the risk," pressed Velthara. "You could have been killed. Your ship could have been destroyed, for people you had never met." "That's exactly why we had to come," Hyun replied. "If we only helped people we knew, what kind of people would we be?" The rescued prisoners exchanged glances. They came from species that were thousands of years older than humanity, with civilizations that spanned entire sectors of the galaxy. But none of their peoples would have launched a military operation to save strangers. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Private Soman was analyzing the data she had stolen from the Krex ship. What she found made her stomach turn. The slave trade was bigger than anyone had imagined. "Colonel," she called over the communication system, "you need to see this." Hyun left the medical bay and joined Soman at her computer station. The holographic display showed shipping routes, market locations, and prisoner transfer points throughout Krex space. "There are dozens of slave ships operating in this sector alone," Soman reported. "And look at this, prison camps on 17 different worlds. Hundreds of thousands of beings held in forced labor." Lieutenant Nari looked at the data with growing anger. "How long has this been going on?" "According to these records, at least 50 years. Maybe longer." Soman highlighted several entries. "They've enslaved entire populations, whole species that tried to resist the Dominion." Sergeant Major Doyen studied the tactical implications. "Colonel, with this information we could hit their entire network, free every prisoner in Krex space." Hyun nodded slowly. "Send all of this to Admiral Minho. He needs to know what we're dealing with." Far away on Luna Base, Admiral Minho received the data transmission and felt his determination harden into something like steel. The Krex Dominion wasn't just a threat to one research station. They were a cancer spreading across the galaxy, destroying innocent lives for profit. Captain Jiwon read the reports with growing amazement. "Sir, if these numbers are accurate, the Krex have enslaved more beings than some species have as total population. And no one stops them," Minho said grimly. The older species are too afraid or too comfortable to act. They've accepted that this is just how the galaxy works. What are your orders, sir? Minho looked at the star charts showing Krek's territory. It was vast, well-defended, and filled with suffering beings who had no hope of rescue, unless Earth decided to give them hope. Prepare the fleet, he said. All available ships. If the galaxy won't police itself, then humans will do it for them. News of the rescue spread through galactic communication networks faster than light. Dr. Yuna's rescue became a story that every species heard within days. The details varied depending on who was telling it, but the core message was always the same. Humans had answered a distress call from strangers and fought the Kreks to save them. On the water world of Aquaria, the dolphin-like Cetacean Council discussed the implications. These humans fought the Kreks Dominion for no profit, clicked council leader title in the sonic language of his people. They risked their lives for beings they had never met. It makes no sense, replied Councillor Wave. What species does this? What evolutionary advantage could such behavior provide? Perhaps, suggested Elder Deep, oldest of the cetaceans, not all behavior needs to provide advantage. Perhaps some behavior is simply right. Similar conversations were happening throughout the galaxy. The crystalline beings of the Shard Collective analyzed human behavior through mathematical models. The plant-like Verdani discussed it through chemical signals in their forest cities. The energy beings of the Corona Nebula debated it in languages made of pure light. All reached the same conclusion. Humans were different. The Retribution docked at Harmony Station, a massive galactic council, facility that served as a hub for scientific and diplomatic missions. Dr. Yuna and the other rescued prisoners were met by medical teams and their own species representatives, but the biggest crowd was there to see the humans as Ambassador Krell of the Vorthon Empire approached. Colonel Hyun as he disembarked. The tall, blue-skinned diplomat had been skeptical when he first heard reports of the rescue. Colonel Hyun, Krell said formally, I am authorized by the Galactic Council to offer Earth full membership in our alliance, with all rights and privileges. Hyun looked surprised. That's generous, Ambassador, but we didn't do this for political gain. I know, Krell replied. That's exactly why we want you as members. The Council has been looking for a species with both the strength to act and the moral courage to act correctly. Your people appear to be both. Dr. Yuna joined the conversation, looking much healthier after proper medical treatment. Colonel, there's something else you should know. Word of the rescue has spread to the slave camps throughout Krek space. Prisoners who had given up hope are now believing they might be saved. They're calling you the answer, added Velthara, her light shimmering with emotion. When someone begs for mercy, Earth's warriors answer. Hyun felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What had started as one rescue mission had become something much larger. Earth had taken a stand, and now the galaxy was watching to see what they would do next. His communication device chimed with an incoming message from Admiral Minho. The text was brief but clear. Phase 2 authorized. Come home, we have work to do. Hyun smiled grimly. Earth had answered one call for help, but there were thousands more out there. The Krek's Dominion was about to learn what happened when a species with advanced technology decided that slavery was unacceptable. As the Retribution prepared to leave Harmony Station, Dr. Yuna stood at an observation window watching Earth's ship disappear into quantum space. Around her, representatives from dozens of species were already making plans to contact Earth's government. They're really going to do it, Chithkan observed. They're going to fight an entire empire to free slaves they've never met. Yes, Yuna said softly. I think they are. For the first time in centuries, hope was spreading through the dark corners of the galaxy. In slave camps and prison ships, in mining colonies and forced labor facilities, beings who had given up all hope of rescue were beginning to believe again. Earth had heard their cry for mercy, and Earth's warriors were coming to answer. The Krek's Dominion had ruled through fear for generations, convinced that no one would challenge their might. They had been wrong. A young species from a small blue planet had decided that some things were worth fighting for. No matter the odds, the galaxy would never be the same. In the depths of space, Admiral Minho's fleet began moving toward Krek's territory. Earth had found its purpose among the stars, not as conquerors or traitors, but as protectors of those who couldn't protect themselves. When the innocent called for help, Earth would always answer.